feel something from someone who has nothing to steal. That's real.
Hey, what is up guys? Brittan Peachy from 3-Bit Gaming, and I'm here with yet another Build-A-Champ workshop. Today we're going to be taking a look at Puch. He's actually one of my favorite gods to dick around with, so let's get right into it. So Puch's abilities are as follows. His passive is Puch is closely attuned with the dead and may exhume corpses at his will. When walking over a decaying corpse, Puch lowers the cooldown of Undead Surge and Corpse Explosion by 2 seconds, restores 5% of his maximum health and 3% of his maximum mana. Now it's called Hollow Ground, and this is actually something that we're going to go into for maybe 1v1s, some close encounters, try to get you out of that. The second is Undead Surge. Puch raises up 2 decaying corpses from the underworld and surge forward to explode on anything that they touch. When they reach max distance, or when Puch reactivates Undead Surge, dealing damage and slowing targets on hit, it causes a collapse after exploding, remaining behind. That is that's a pretty good initial damage and everything else. A little bit of a slow there, so that's good also to see. Corpse Explosion, Puch causes the target area to explode, dealing damage. Corpse Explosion also causes any decaying corpses in the area to explode. And then we have Fleeting Breath. Puch throws a charm from the underworld, which awakens a decaying corpse that applies miasma to targets in an area and falls to the ground, remaining behind. Targets take damage every second, so it's a dot damage. After the duration, targets take additional damage and are stunned if they were healed by an ability during this initial duration, which is really badass, and I'll try to show you that with the raw bot here. And then Empty the Crypts. Puch unleashes an army of wraiths from the 9th hell that swarm forward and deal damage to enemies they collide with. Also very good. So let's see here, we're level 1. Okay, so this is kind of I know this looks like a mess here, but I understand it for me, I guess. So this is kind of my all-around items that I use for Puch, and it depends on what I want in the game, what I'm doing in the game, whatever else. I'm not going to be showing you the starter items that I really like, because, you know, this is jungle practice, but I usually use a Vampiric Shroud if I'm going with the starter item. In a, you know, assault, not in assault, but in like conquest or like maybe siege or something, I'll go with Shoes of Focus. But if I'm going to just play arena just because my friends want to mess around, I'll be probably using the Shoes and the Magi just because I can. Let's go through the stacking item. I'll only use one stacking item on Puch, and it depends on the situation. If I want to go a little bit more tanky and still get and retain some of that magical power with the health and mana added on to that, I'm going to actually go Warlock Sash. And if I'm wanting a lot of damage and wanting to get that mana per second, you can see down on there on Thoth, it actually has that mana per 5 seconds or whatever it is. It gives you that additional mana, magical power, and then the passive is permanently gain 10 mana per stack and receive 5 stacks for a god kill, 1 stack for a minion kill, max 75 stacks. Additionally, 3% of your mana is converted to magical power. With Sash, it's, you know, you permanently gain plus 3 health, 0.6 magical power per stack, and receive 5 stacks for a god kill, 1 stack per minion kill, and that's the max 100 stacks. It really gives him a lot more health. He still has that damage. If there's someone on your team that's actually creating a lot more damage, then, you know, it's not a big deal. My third item, I usually get Chronos Pendant for the cooldown, the magical power, you know, the mana per 5 seconds for sustain and lane, and then I get the cooldown reduction off the top of that. Then I'll usually either, it depends on how it's going, if I don't need a lot of penetration, but, you know, I'm getting that enough damage to actually put the hurt on the enemy team, I actually go Gem of Isolation first before a pin item, and it gives you the 250 health and mana, so you're getting more health and mana, and you're getting that 70 magical power, which is going to really help out. Plus the passive, enemies hit by your damage abilities will move 25% slower for 2 seconds, which is actually a super big deal for Puch, because once we get into like maybe his combos and whatnot, you'll see why. And then I'll do Spear the Magus if before or after I've already done the damage I need, or like if I got Gem of Isolation, then I'll get Spear the Magus, and that's 50 magical power, 15 magical penetration, and your abilities reduce your target's magical protection by 10 for 5 seconds, max 3 stacks. That's actually super good because his dot damage, it really helps that out. So then last but not least, Rada Tahuti, why not? 125 magical power, 15 magical per every 5 seconds or whatever, and passive increases the magical power by 25%. that's a really good item. It's kind of expensive, but I've seen people do alternate items, such as maybe Spear of Desolation. I've seen people put Obsidian Shard. I just like the way this build works, and it seems to work extremely well. Now, going into Conquest, I usually am going to use Fleeting Breath first, and that is his DOT. And I don't necessarily agree with some people using other abilities, but if someone tells you and they know better than me, like you see somebody like Weaken or something, why would you do his 3 first and just listen to them? But I always do Fleeting Breath first. It has the DOT, which is really good early game, and if you're hitting a healer, it'll heal. It's going to do that debuff. Next, I usually will get Corpse Explosion, and this, of course, is all in. This is all in Conquest that I'm talking about at the moment, and I'll get Corpse Explosion. That way, I can just throw it out, make it explode, whatever else. And then, last but not least, I'll start on the fleeting. What was it called again? Undead Surge. That way, his basic ability to start off with, he does dump a lot of mana, which is why I think the mana per second, or mana per every 5 seconds, is actually really useful. And that's you throw your undead surge, and then you'll throw your fleeting breath on top of it, and then you'll cause them both to explode. Now, there's actually I've seen in like people that are new to Outwatch, you actually just gotta be fast on the buttons to just make sure you throw it in a quick succession. I have some people that I've tried to teach Outwash or whatever else, and they seem to kind of be a little bit slower on it. You'll see this kind of stuff, and by then, if it's like about that fast, you'll see people already out of it. Even though he has a little bit of a slow, it's not too much early game to give any kind of nod of the hat to. So his ultimate looks like this. It's actually a really big blanket. It doesn't do a shit ton of damage, but it is enough to push people back or actually finish people off. I've used it to finish people off in tower, to run away, to help my team run away, but this is just what it looks like right here. So, big old blanket. Alright, so let's go to late game. I actually am not going to show the stacks this whole time because I'm trying to keep this one a little bit short, this video. I think last time I was just farming stacks, but I can show you guys some other things. So let's go ahead and level up to 20, and let's so in this, let's say I'm going for I'm in a joust, so I'll go for this kind of deal right here. Okay, then relics. I usually always remember to get pots, obviously. Relics, these are the 4 that I use the most. I use meditation for the obvious reasons. I use sanctuary to help get away and erase mistakes like you'll usually hear me say with assassins or whatever else. Committing too far, getting caught up with maybe a ganker out of jungle, whether it be an assassin, guardian, anybody with CC. Sanctuary is really good to use. I also use beads, obviously, because that's just a smart thing to do when there's people that you need to beat against. I do use Wrath sometimes whenever there's somebody that's always seemed to be coming straight for me, and if my friends that I'm playing with or whatever else are kind of like in a joust, they're kind of get just run by, and that person's just coming straight for me. I use the Wrath for maybe the stun or whatever else, and then I get sprint just to get away. These are all just situational. It doesn't really matter, so I'll just pick 2. But this is the basic build. And another thing I do want to say with the Undead Surge, how I level, is I actually usually will take, I'll do my 3, my 2, and my 1, and then I'll level up my 1 to 3, because once he gets to 3, he gets 2. He gets 2 corpses, which is actually a big deal for damage, because just exploding another corpse is really detrimental. So once you get to 3, you can kind of wander over maybe to your 3, your 1, your ultimate. You can kind of prioritize those, and it's also really, make sure that you're leveling the skills right, because if you have 1 on your X because you rushed your B and your A all game, I mean, it's gonna really hurt your damage. So here's something that I've actually been prone to show. So whenever you're getting attacked, when you get jumped on, people say Outwash is kind of hard to move, kind of hard to get away from, but the biggest thing is when you get jumped on, you do have 1v1 game. So here's something to think about. If, like, let's say you're getting attacked and people are jumping on you, you can, this stops at the first enemy that it hits. So you can actually just maybe throw it and dance around, make it explode, pop your ultimate. I mean, he's got a lot of game when it comes to 1v1ing, and obviously if you have Wrath or whatever else, you can use that to get that stun so you can hit those abilities. I wouldn't recommend wasting Wrath if you trust the people that you're with, but so let's try to make this guy get a stun. Fleeting Breath, he's healing, and where is it? There it is, right there. See, you saw the damage. It's actually pretty detrimental whenever it comes to a healer and you have an op watch. You're actually able to get rid of them quite easily. So let's try to do this one more time. And stun. And dead. Okay. So now let's just go for the combos, just to show you the combo real quick. So, I mean, and then the DOT is just going to get rid of him. Very, very good. Again, I'm using Sash. He's actually, you can be a little bit more powerful with Thoth. But I mean, you can't argue with that damage, right? And some good damage. Let's get a few stacks here before we go try to take on other shit. I know we're at level 20 and it really doesn't matter, but let's do this. Maybe 33. Yeah, that's probably good. So just showing, man, I wish you could build stuff on the people that you're fighting in this. I mean, hitting some pretty good numbers, and then the tick when I'm at on my tick. Yeah, let's check this real quick. 157 a tick. That's not bad. And remember, when you're in lane, if you're low on health and you're like, man, I need to sustain. So just you can just go to the wall in your or use your tower or whatever else and just throw them out. You know, if you look down in the bottom right hand corner, you can actually see it says 6, but then whenever I take them back, it's like nothing. So you can just sustain like that if you got that, you know, mana per every 5 seconds or whatever the fuck it is. So, and then obviously Gold Fury should probably be cake. Yeah. And then I'll just leech him out. Okay. Let's go fight, I don't know. Let's run the stacks up to about 50, since I built Warlocks. I didn't really build too much damage with Warlocks compared to what it would be with Thoth. It's true, because I don't know, you get that lot of health. That's what I like. I mean, look at my health right now. It's 24. So I mean, if I got 2400 health, that's actually a lot of survivability. All right, fuck it. Let's just go attack Fire Giant. So let's go for it. Ooh, ow. I mean, that's cake. That is cake. So pros and cons. Early game, all Puch, you got to be careful with what you're doing. He does dump mana quite often. Make sure you kind of know what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing as a mage, because you know you're doing damage or whatever else. But if you don't think that overcommitting is a good idea like me, then don't. You shouldn't have to be fighting somebody else 1v1. You shouldn't have to be getting pulled in, because you should be far enough away. I mean, he's got a lot of fucking range on all this stuff, and his DOT is quite impressive. So he's got a lot of sustain. Guys to stay away from, obviously, is anybody that can keep you near him and can put out enough damage to cause you to lose any 1v1. When I say he has 1v1, I'm not saying that he can 1v1 a Loki, even though it's possible, definitely, but just sheer power that he puts and brings to the battlefield. Anyways, pros and cons, not a big deal. Anything else, you know, if you guys want to see more on him, just say something, and we'll do a little short video giving an in-depth guide. All these Build-A-Champs are just basically to give you a build, a little bit of rundown on the god. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you just want to see content in general. So I'm really happy you guys were here with me today, and I'll see you on the next Build-A-Champ workshop. Peace out, guys.